Welcome back to Daily Sews and Stuff. I have such an exciting video for you today. I finally got to sit down and interview Missy Pore. She is the person who started this revolution where we use projectors to project our patterns and sew. Oh, it was so awesome to talk to her and to hear all of the different things that she went through when she first started this without having any support, and about all the amazing support that's offered now through her Facebook group, Projectors for Sewing. And that link will be in the description box, along with the link to her one-on-one consultation if you need help with that. So here's my interview with Missy. Hey friends, it's Branelyn and I'm here with Missy Pore. She is the person who started this whole projector sewing revolution thing. So we're going to talk to her about what that was like and what she's doing now. And I have a couple questions from the group. So we're going to jump in and talk to her. All right, Missy, tell us how this whole thing started, because, oh my goodness, you've started a revolution.
Well, I saw the idea posted. I guess I don't remember where I saw it. It was in a pattern group, probably, of a company that wanted to make a very pattern specific projector, and they had one set up and they were showing how you could cut from it. And I went digging immediately to see when that was coming because I needed it right now. And there was not even a release date mentioned anywhere. I couldn't find any even recent updates, and I just decided, so it's doable. And I'm not waiting. So I just went on the hunt for projectors from there and found by the second one, it worked. I didn't know anything about how to fix the aspect ratio issues that we know how to fix now. And so I just started buying projectors and returning them when they didn't work. And the second one I got worked, and just started from there.
That's amazing. So you were doing all of this without the support of the group, the Projectors for Sewing group. I don't think I mentioned that. There is a Facebook group, Projectors for Sewing, which is what she started, and how we have, like 35,000 people?
30, it kind of fluctuates now. I think some people are leaving when they get set up. So somewhere between 32 to 34,000.
Yeah, let's go 32. 32,000 people now, barely a year later, are following in your footsteps. And now that group has so much support and so many answers for all the things that come up when you try to do this. Okay, so you just started buying projectors and trying to make it work. What made you go, oh, this is what I have to do?
Oh, I mean, whenever I saw the elimination of paper, because I have a small business doing like custom orders, and all different sizes. People wanted different, styles. And I was messing around with sending the AO print, copy shop off to have it printed, and having to wait for it to come back, and then tracing the size. I have two small kids that I also sew for, and they grow, obviously, unpredictably. Yeah. So I was like, as soon as I realized with just some clicks of the buttons to put it on the projector and have it showing immediately, that was it. The day that I saw the idea, I was on the hunt because I had to find out how to do that without having to mess with all the paper.
I am so glad that you did, because it has changed the lives of 30-something thousand sewers.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So you kind of took an idea that somebody had that had gone debunked, like it was not, they weren't going anywhere with it, and you were able to solve it with a much simpler solution of use what we've already got created. And so you were buying projectors. So like, were you buying those that a lot of people use off Amazon, like the Vivimage or whatever, or what were you doing?
The first one I had was actually an 8-min because I was looking for cheap. And that was one of the projectors that we have found how to fix the aspect ratios, but I didn't know that at the time. I'm not technologically inclined. And so I was just like, this doesn't work. I'm sending it back. And I had assumed at that point that it was the curved lens. That was the only thing I could kind of figure would be distorting the image, because again, no technology terms in my brain were coming up. So I just went for a higher priced one next. It was an Epson, or I'm sorry, It wasn't an Epson. It was a ViewSonic.
Mm.
And it was a higher price range, but I thought it doesn't matter. I need to figure this out. If we ever come up with, cheaper ones, I'll just trade it in, kind of, which is what I ultimately did. I do have a Viv Image now. I sold the higher end one for a little bit higher price to somebody that just wanted to use it for home theater purposes. And we're happy with getting one used.
Right.
But so I did eventually upgrade, but it was just kind of hit or miss. I didn't, price wasn't a problem for me at that point. I just wanted to find a way to
Right.
make it work.
Well, and if you're doing this for business, then the time that you save is going to add up to money over time too.
Yes, absolutely. That was in my brain, that was what it calculated to. If I cut out all the mess with all the paper, I'm going to be able to double my productivity at least, with not having to do all of that fussing around.
At least, like, it went from you have to print out the pattern, wait for it to print, tape it together, spend an entire night just dealing with getting your pattern ready, and then you could cut. So now, I don't know, like 15-30 minutes, depending on how complicated it is, you can be done cutting.
Yeah. And with my business, I just did an order that had 17 pieces for one order. I had others, but one order for 17 pieces, all different sizes and different styles. I could not have managed that doing that with paper.
Yeah, no way. It would have taken forever.
Makes me cry to think about it.
Yeah. So, all right. So you got this brilliant idea, you figured out how to make it work, and then that's when you started the Facebook group?
Yeah, as soon as I realized that it was possible, I was like, people need to know this, because I had searched in the
Yes, we did.
groups for information. The day that I kind of saw the idea, I went to all the pattern groups, the big ones even, and just searched for projector, and there was no mention of it anywhere. Nobody was using them. Nobody was sharing information. So I didn't know what to look for. That's when I just decided to try whatever I could find. But I, from there, knew, since I hadn't found it myself, that other people would want to know about this, and we need to find ways to work around the different variables that I knew would be a problem, but people needed to know. And I knew I needed smarter people than me to come in and help with those problems, because since I didn't know how to fix those issues, I knew other people would, and they
And you
needed
were
to
right.
know. Yeah.
You have found some amazing people. So I'm gonna kind of go off my script here a little bit and ask you, skip ahead a little. How did you find like Sasha and Amy, who are just technological geniuses and have got this all down? How did you find them? How did you decide, oh, yeah, like they need to be admins of this group, they know what they're doing? How did that happen?
Sasha really just stepped in on her own accord to start helping people, because she did have the technology knowledge to do that. And so she really started doing the troubleshooting when people were having those aspect ratio issues and calibration issues. I just kind of stepped back. At that point, I knew I didn't have the knowledge, and other people would. That's why I wanted the group and people to join it that did have that knowledge. And she just stepped in and was super willing to help everybody and anybody that had those problems. And she was so patient about it. She actually reached out to me at one point. I can't even remember originally what the conversation was. And eventually she said, would you like for me to help you moderate? Because it was growing and growing by the thousands so fast. And I didn't know all of that information yet. I've learned so much from her and through the group. So I said, yes, please, I could use some help. So she has, I think she has experience moderating other groups as well. So she's even been the one when we've had to adjust some rules about the inclusivity and even what you can post, what you can't post. She's been excellent at the wording of that and making it sound, like moderators should sound. So but thank goodness for her, because a lot of what has happened in the group has been because of her also. And Amy as well. She's been super knowledgeable, collecting data and everything, helping us to really figure out what's going to work and what's not.
Yeah, I have seen Sasha in a couple other groups as a moderator, and everywhere she is so helpful and so kind. And
very.
I'm trying to convince her that she needs to come on, but she doesn't want to. So I guess we'll let her just be kind the way she wants to be.
Yes.
Um, so speaking of that, it grew. How quickly did you start seeing the growth? And like, because I think it was right away.
It was pretty immediate. I mean, I posted in like a pattern search group initially to share, and I shared my setup. And then people were asking so many questions and the same questions repeatedly. I was like, we need resources. I need to find a way to share this information to anybody that wants to see it without me having to do the direct communication of commenting and messaging. That takes so much time. It's just a lot of time. So, and which turned into the group initially. And then, yeah, people, as soon as people started seeing my setup and that it was possible and brave enough on their own to then say, well, I'm going to give this a try too. And
Right.
without solid answers, because we just didn't know, we still don't have solid answers of, will this projector work for everybody? No, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't come down to that, but people have been brave enough to go out. So once they started finding their own setup, making it work and sharing it, you would see jumps in the growth by the hundreds and thousands weekly, because they would start sharing it as well in their groups. And even just, you know, we all know how the sewist community goes with, I'm going to show this pattern in this pattern group and inadvertently also show that I'm using a projector for it, and then start all of the questions of how you're
Or somebody asks, how do you store your patterns? And I'm like, well.
Yes, that's the number one. Yes. And it's funny now because I go to those comments now to see if anybody's mentioned a projector yet. And yes.
But when I started
Yes,
mentioning the
they
projector, there would be like 50 comments, and then I would comment about a projector, and I would get responses of like 30 people saying,
Yes.
what? How is this possible? And now I go to comment and I'm like the 10th comment, and already projectors have been mentioned.
Yes.
So
it is the majority. It seems the
crazy.
majority of people at this point are commenting with the projector solution.
Yes.
So.
Yes. It's I said it, I don't know if it works vocally. I've only to type this out, but it's like projectoralizing, like proselytizing, but with projectoring. Yes.
Oh, that's a big word.
But I feel like that. I feel like we're just like out sharing the message of how amazing the projectors are, and yes, you need one.
Yep. Spread the good news.
And everybody will say like, oh, well, I can't, my space is too small. And I'm like, oh, yes, you can. Or they'll say,
Yep.
oh, I can't, it costs too much money. I mean, it's not nothing, but you can make this work for $100,
Yep.
So it is just so crazy how many, problems that we think we have, and then it's not, it works.
Yes.
So when you started, you already had a sewing business, and it was making the actual garments. At what point did you decide I can add in helping people as a business?
There just were a lot of people commenting in the group, and you could tell. I mean, there are the go-getters that are like me, and they're going to go find whatever resource they can find, and they are going to figure it out how to make it work. And the resources that we have are fantastic. Sasha has put so much time into putting those together. I, on the other hand, if I were a new member coming into the group now and I saw those documents, I would be totally overwhelmed because I'm not technologically savvy, and a lot of words are hard for me to process. And I already know that about myself. Even when I was going through college, I had to learn how to study a different way without a million words. I had to really summarize things. So those resources for those kinds of people that want to just figure it out for themselves are there. But we had so many people coming into the group that didn't work for them, and they would be trying their hardest to figure this out and they just needed more direct help and more visual help, more one-on-one help, audible, person to person assistance. And it's kind of funny with the timing of COVID that now we are doing so many things through Zoom and video chat already, that's when it occurred to me, like, I could go via video chat and help people, direct them one-on-one and give them that hand holding. And so I decided, like, I mean, I'm already running the group. I'm already sharing information that way for those that need that. And then when people do need that one-on-one, and we can schedule a time for that, then I'm willing to help them with that way too.
Yeah, because you'll see people say like, "I need someone to come help me," and we're like, I would, but you know, I live 4,000 miles away." And yeah, I mean, a year ago, who would have thought, "Oh yeah, let's just hop on Zoom." But now that's just
Yep.
like what we do.
Hmm.
So yeah, that is crazy that that timing totally worked with that.
It did.
As much trouble as it's caused us all, it's really helped
Hmm.
in some ways too.
Right.
So, and see, I'm one of those people that I would not have just gone and bought a projector like you did with no information at all because I love the research of it, but I also love all the words. So it doesn't bother me at all that these are crazy long documents. But my mom is not one of those people. My mom is like, you've got to give me the bullet points. And if you tell me
Yes.
too many words, I've tuned you out.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, yeah, it's nice that no matter what kind of learner you are, we've got people that are teachers like that that can help you out.
Yes.
Okay, so what have you learned from
Hmm.
helping other people set up?
Ooh. I guess more just the communication, and it, actually it's been kind of funny to observe. Often it's a husband and wife trying to work on it together
Hmm.
when I'm on these calls, and men are
And it
different than women.
it introduces a whole new thing there, I'm sure.
It does. It's very interesting. And to then have to communicate verbally through the phone with two people that think very differently and have different goals in mind, even, has been interesting, and just an added element to have to work around.
You
And
didn't know you were going to be a marriage counselor through this, did you?
I didn't. Apparently, I've saved some marriages. That's amazing. Because when they're trying to work on this together and neither one of them really know what they're doing with the calibration, then it's
Yeah.
been an issue. So I'm glad to help in that respect as well. But yeah, that I've had to learn. I mean, I learned, how to communicate with a man, with my husband, but now I have to learn how to communicate with all these other husbands and
Right.
speak their language.
They're not all the same.
No, they're not. And women, yeah, we just communicate differently. So that's been a learning experience.
Yeah. So mine, this one right here, is mounted to the wall, and it's big, and I'm 5 foot tall, and it's heavy, and I have to put my hands above my head, and I mean, I have no upper body strength. So my husband has had to help me hang it twice now, and it's been a mess. But that has nothing to do with the projector or projector for sewing. We just keep
Mhm,
moving.
mhm.
Anyway, so he at the first time he helped me, it was just like we've done stuff. We have remodeled homes together before. I know we can work together, but oh my goodness, we were both just like so snippy because, like you said, neither one of us knew what we were doing. But then the next few times we've done it, it's been much better because at least now
Yeah.
we kind of know what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I even had my dad help me one time, but he's bless his heart, he's worked with my mother and he works with me my whole life, and so he knows like we might snip for a minute, but we'll be okay.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, it's once you've done it a time or two, it gets so much easier. But that
Yeah.
first time is intimidating, very
Mhm.
much. I'm gonna ask you this, but I'm gonna ask you this and again. So Missy's actually coming on our podcast. Our Kathleen and I started a podcast called the Small Business Sewing Podcast, and we are fixing to talk to her on that side too. So we're gonna get a little more into the businessy stuff there. But I just want to briefly say, like, you did this because you knew it would benefit your business. So will you kind of talk to that? Like, have you actually seen an increase in your revenue and all that sort of, kind of real briefly?
Yes, definitely. I took pretty large orders after I started with the projector that I couldn't have managed. I have two kids at home. I have one that just moved out. He's 19, but managing that and being married and working outside of the home as well, I had to find a way to be more time efficient and not turn people away. Um, I did start giving myself more time between the orders and the expectations of the customer to make sure that I could manage all of it without completely pulling my hair out, but there's just no way I could have managed what I've done without the projector. Couldn't have happened.
Yeah. So, and I can speak from the more hobbyist side. I mean, the business that I kind of started related to this is also kind of like you did with the teaching of others, but in a different way. Um, but all the sewing that I do is purely for me and my kids, occasionally for a friend or something, but it's not a business at all. But the fact that I have 3 kids and they are not only 3 different sizes, but also I'm always grading, excuse me, I'm always grading for them because they are not the same height and width. And you know, you print a pattern once and you get it just perfect and you grade it and it's great and you cut out like one garment with it, and then the next time you go to use it, they're not that size anymore. And so the fact that I can just pull it up on my projector has been
Mm-hmm.
so worth it.
Yep.
And because I am a busy mom that is sewing for fun, it was not ever fun to put the patterns together. And it was never fun that I felt like I wasted a whole night before I could even get to the sewing part. And so
Mm-hmm.
that
Cut
has
and
just been,
sew. That was my like slogan when I even started talking about this in the groups to show people that this was possible, was I cut and sew now. That's it. No paper, no printing, no taping, no tracing. I pull up the pattern, I cut, and then I sew. And I even grade. I'm short. I'm 5'2". I have to shorten all of my pants and my sleeves and my bodices, and I just do it right from right from the projector now. I don't even mess with paper at all.
you've
Been
got
so
3 inches
frugal.
on me, so I totally understand.
Yes.
So kind of going back to the group and well, I'm sorry, no, one more question with this. Have you found any downsides with using your projector? Like you would think it would be grading, but it's not. We found great solutions for that. What what maybe doesn't
Uh,
work quite as well?
the recently my projector has been starting to malfunction a little bit, and I haven't troubleshooted what that is. It might be overheating, which we're going to figure out some different mounting solutions because mine is really hacked together.
Yes.
So
Totally understand.
we're gonna work on some mounting to see if that's the problem. And I mean, with electric outages that a lot of people can experience, then you are out of your patterns at that point if you can't turn anything on. So that would be a downfall. I would if
All
I
of us
had
in Texas, after living through last week are like, yeah,
yeah. Now, a way around that I would, if I fortunately live in a place where I very, very rarely ever lose electric. My parents and other family members 2 miles away lose it all the time. If I were in that situation personally, I would be investing in a projector that's battery operated and using an iPad that then I could connect to with the screen
or a
mirror.
laptop with a good battery. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there are even ways around that.
Yeah,
that
that's true.
would
I hadn't thought
find.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, I would do it if it were an ongoing, consistent issue like it is for some people that I even know personally. That's exactly what I would be doing because I would not let that get in my way.
Yeah. My husband's parents, where they owned a house, would lose. It was way out in the country, and they were like at the end of the line. And anytime anything went wrong, they would lose power. But
Mhm.
we don't normally. We just had a
Yeah, it was a fluke. Yeah,
yeah. What
but
we
I
call
do.
it, a
I even
100-year storm.
I batch cut and then batch sew. So I feel like at least I would even maybe hopefully have some things sitting that I've already cut. Although then you still can't sew even if you're out of electric also. So
I mean, I have a treadle machine. It's just not at this
oh.
house, so that didn't work out either. But we actually didn't lose power. We are really near a hospital, so we didn't lose any power. But we were all like, "Don't use anything. Don't overload the system. Let's like not." My kids learned so much about the word conservation last week. It was a great homeschool lesson.
Yes.
So, what is your current kind of goal with the group? It started out you just wanted to find other people that could do this with you and figure out what was going on. But now you've got this, you know what you're doing. So what's kind of your goal with the group now?
Still just kind of sharing with people that it's possible. I do think that people just get in their minds the hangups that they might run into and then think, well, then I just can't do it. And I think it's rare where we cannot find a solution for somebody.
Oh yeah.
including those that are the technologically, challenged to say, since I can do the video chat help now too, there's just not too many variables that we can't find a way around. So still just spreading the news, really. That's the goal still, is to find people that need it and want it, and that we can help find the way that they can make it work.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, everything is not for everybody. And if you just don't want to use a projector, I don't think any of us are like, how dare you? But if you want to use a projector, join the group, because we will figure out a way.
Oh yeah.
There, so many people have so many creative solutions, and I mean, I'm just like amazed at some of the things people come up with, and it works so great.
Truly.
And
Mhm.
yeah, it will, if you want to do it, it will work. Um, all right. So, oh, I was going to ask you this. So the group grew super fast. There's over 30,000 members, and now there's all these offshoot groups. So
Mhm.
how did that happen? And like, what was that? I mean, I don't know. That just seems overwhelming and to me. But how was it?
It's fascinating to see. It's really cool to see, because a lot of the offshoot groups are just groups from other countries, because they don't have access to the same products that we are using. So a lot of people will say, well, I'm using a Viv image or an 8-min, but they don't have those in other countries necessarily. So it's been helpful for those other countries to have their own groups to share that kind of information. They've taken what we've learned with the calibration and the technology, they've taken it with them and just applying it to whatever products they have access to. And that's been amazing, just to see how far reached this really is now across the world, that other people are using this, and that it's translating, and it just shows that the entire world of sewists want this kind of solution.
Yeah.
And all of us want to find ways to do the parts that we want and eliminate the parts that we don't want, which is the paper often.
Yes. So, I mean, you seriously started like this worldwide sewing revolution. I, I, and I'm, like I said, I am so grateful that you did. What was that like for you? Like, did you ever have these moments of like, oh no, what have I done? Like,
no, I think it's felt manageable, even in my time with the other moderators that are helping, and the moderators, with Sasha and the other people that do have the knowledge, to figure out the issues. That at first I was like, okay, it's possible with certain projectors, maybe not all, which might mean that some people can't spend the money. If it is the more expensive projectors, that might eliminate some people that just can't invest that. We've even found the ways around that. And it's just felt like we really can help people find a solution around pretty much any variable. So I guess I've never really felt like intimidated by it. I'm excited. It just excites me to see so many people finding a way to make it work. Because, and that's just the kind of personality I have, is like, what can we do to make it work? Yes, we might run into this problem and this problem and this problem, but there's going to be a way around that. There has to be. There's going to be. I'm going to make a way.
Yeah. There will be a solution if I have to create it my own self.
Yep.
So what do you want to say to people who are just getting started, other than we can find a solution?
I think it's going to blow your mind once you see how easy it is once you're set up. But the setup can be intimidating. It can take some time and some fussing around, and leave it for a little while and then come back, and leave it for a little while and come back. But once you set up, you're going to be blown away by what you can do with it, and the time that you save, and getting to just do what you want to do, which is the sewing.
Absolutely. So what are some, I'm going to ask you a couple of the questions that I see multiple times a day in the group. All right. So, I have such and such situation. What's the best projector for me?
Sometimes people will include more information, like I have this problem with my ceiling, or I only have this distance to work with, or I can't hang anything permanently because I'm renting, or whatever situation, which I kind of think to all of the above, the answer is a portable setup, which we've seen tons of creative solutions in the group. And there's even hashtags you can search now to find those ways, because there's so many different ways. So whatever you have access to, even if it's something that you already have, I do love that it is resourceful. People have been really amazing at finding things that they already just have in their home and using it to make it work with a projector. Even if you have a projector that's already at home, you can set it up and see if that'll work. So it is not, unfortunately, we don't just have one projector fits all situation. It doesn't work that way. But with the resources that we have in the group, if you just have XYZ projector already, you can, compare it to the specifications listed in those documents and see if that'll work. And there's just all of those resources are there. And if that's too many words and you cannot process it all, then you can ask in the group and somebody will gladly help.
If you already have a projector, the easiest way to figure out if it's going to work is shine it at the wall and see if it works. Like,
turn it on,
measure the distance that you'll have it, set it that far away, see if it works.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's probably the number one question. People want us to just be able to give them a cut and dry, go buy this, go do this, and it doesn't work that way.
No.
But it will work. So now that you've started this sewing revolution, you have any you have any more revolutions you're gonna start?
Not that I have in the plans. I did kind of consider, there's an idea that I have of a different projector model that would kind of fit any and all need. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the resources currently to try to produce that. So I have been in touch with some of the projector companies to see if they would kind of collaborate with me on making that. I don't know if it would fit the needs of more than just the sewing community, right, which might be a hang up, because, if they're only producing it for a few thousand people, then that might not be worth it to them. So we'll see.
We're not going to spend the thousands of dollars on a projector that a school would, or
right.
What am I trying to say? Business would.
Yes. Yeah, I do think it would be something that could be generalized to other uses, but I don't know on their viewpoint if they'll see that. So
yeah,
that's my only thing coming, that could happen soon. Eventually.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So I do have this one that's my projector that has been in almost all of my videos that I've been using for a year now. My goodness, yeah, I guess about somewhere. But I recently bought an ultra short throw that I just did a video on setting up that ultra short throw, and I find myself setting that up whenever I want to do any sort of alterations, because it has the pins. Mm-hmm. And I can make the pins draw on my PDF the way that I would use my mouse to do, and it's easier with a pin. And so whenever you set that up and you calibrate it, and every time I've done that, I've thought, this would be so cool for so many different applications with schools, or with a collaboration in a corporation, whenever you could actually stand next to somebody again. And just like you said, I really think there's so many applications that you could go for and use in other ways, that hopefully maybe a projector company will be like, hey, that will work.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. All right. So I know that using a projector has changed your life. How did starting this group change your life?
It's not like I walk down the street and people know who I am. I mean, the sewing community is relatively small, and I do have a friend that sews, not even still as much as I do. So it's not like I can't go to the grocery store and buy my groceries anymore. I think it's taken, time management to make time to help people when they need it, and fitting that into my schedule. And even my husband, who's always supportive of any harebrained idea that I have, and I have a lot of them, has been like, these are the times whenever I think it would be best for you to do your video calls kind of thing. But Other than that, I can't say it's changed a lot.
Yeah. All right. So, where can people sign on for that one-on-one help that we've talked about?
I have an appointment app that you can go to. The link is included in the Projector for Sewing group, and it's
I'll put it
BIT.
in the I'll
Oh,
put it
yeah.
in the description box
Drop
too.
it.
Make sure you send it to me so I can get it exactly right.
I'll do that.
Okay. So, we're going to continue this conversation on the Small Business Sewing podcast and talk about this a little bit more from the business side of things. Thank you so much for coming and talking. And I am so excited to put this out there and, let's see how many more people we can add to this crazy group. But
Mhm.
if you sew, you need to know about this because it's amazing.
Mind
All right,
blowing.
Missy. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you later.
Okay, thank you.
Missy was kind enough to sit down with me again after this and record another interview. This one included my friend Cathleen from Sunny Mountain Patterns, and we created it for our podcast, the Small Business Sewing Podcast. Go check that out on Facebook, here on YouTube, almost anywhere you can find a podcast. And we also have a Facebook group called the Small Business Sewing Community. So the Small Business Sewing Podcast, you can hear a little bit more about Missy's story and her business now that she's grown out of helping people with their projectors. And I would love to see you in those places too. Thank you so much, Missy, for joining me on both platforms and for taking your whole morning and talking with us. You have so much to share, and I don't think I can express to you how grateful I am you started the Sewing Revolution with Projectors for Sewing. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share. And make sure, if somebody in the group wants to know who started this, let them know it was Missy and let them know what you learned from this podcast.
Okay, so watching my videos, subscribe and comment.